Hello Wolfpack, we've got a bit of a topic of analysis on Bitcoin regarding the support zone that's entered right now. As expected throughout the last few videos, the uptrend didn't necessarily last. However, there is a chance here that no one is denying, and I'm certainly not denying, that Bitcoin can flip short-term bullish, and that chance is coming from this support box between 46k and between 44.5k. We will get into that a bit more in a second, but first and foremost, Bitcoin, generally speaking, was looking pretty bearish the last time we talked about it. We had descending volume in an upwards trend for like 7 consecutive days, right? That was not good. That shows a massive amount of weakness in the market. Second of all, this rally was clearly driven by the Luna Terra kind of narrative that was created, where Luna's buying, I think hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, and they're continuing to do that. And that narrative has kind of pumped the market a little bit right now. And we're also seeing, thirdly, this pump being driven by a pre-recession pump on the S&P 500. For those of you who don't know, yield curves have inverted on the S&P 500. Well, not on the S&P 500, but in general for the US economy. And they're starting to invert different yield curves. And that is generally one of the most accurate signs you'll ever see that we're going into a recession, right? Or as if it wasn't, obvious already that we're going into a recession. That is starting to happen. And what we generally see after that happens is an irrational rally, an irrational price pump. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if this goes even higher. Okay, but it is rejecting right now currently. We saw a kind of a evening star formation, which is a bearish candlestick formation there, and it's heading into the bull market support band, heading into support there. And so, we could see a little bounce in the S&P 500, but as of right now, it's just rejecting quite viciously, right? And that just goes to show you how fragile this move up for Bitcoin is, okay? The only reason Bitcoin was moving upwards, purely, is because the stock market was moving upwards, okay? And when the stock market moves upwards, the DXY moves downwards, okay? So that's generally what we've been seeing here. And now that this stock market, rally, this pre-recession rally might be coming to an end, not sure, could go on longer, could go to all-time highs for all we know, that could be detrimental for Bitcoin. This could just be a healthy correction, in which case Bitcoin will hold support at 44.5k and 46k and head back upwards. And this is kind of the trend with the market right now. Bitcoin itself looks terrible. It just looks really bad. I'm sorry. But the only reason it's going up, and the only reason, and it's actually a valid reason for it to continue going up, right, is the fact that we're seeing a pre-recession rally in the S&P 500, which is driving the Bitcoin price up. Okay, so there has been bullish price action, there's no denying that, but whether it's actually based on logical TA, whether it's actually based on kind of irrational price action due to things that shouldn't really be happening is the question. I'd say it's the latter. Does that mean it will stop? Doesn't that mean we're going to reverse and go down to 30k right now? Impossible to say, because we don't know whether that pre-recession stock market rally is over or not. But what we can say is that looking at the TA here on Bitcoin, the critical region is very, very clear. The critical region for Bitcoin is very much coming from, and let me outline this for you right now, coming from 44.5k, all right? And this is coming through from kind of the wicks to the top side of this downwards trend here, where I'm circling right now. So 44.5k and also 46k, which is the bottom in the December consolidation and early January consolidation, right? That is the support box. That green box that I've drawn on the screen, that is the support box for Bitcoin. Supporting that support box is the bull market support band currently. We're just above it. We just closed above it there. Now, what is interesting is that if Bitcoin manages to hold the support box, and this kind of relies on the S&P 500 bouncing, if it manages to do that, we could see potential for an upswing and a break to the upside of this channel, and then a retest of this zone here at around 53k to 52k. That is the bullish scenario for Bitcoin. That could definitely happen, right? The reason why I'm so hesitant to say it's going to happen is because it's based on irrational price action. As I've said, according to the TA that I've looked at, and I've looked at it so much in the past, right? Bitcoin should not be breaking upwards right now. Okay, that's just how I see it. Bitcoin should not be breaking upwards right now, according to the TA I've seen. Okay, but according to the irrational stock market appreciation, if stocks continue to go up, it very well could hold support and it very well could go to this region here. This is why I'm sticking to short-term trades. I'm not confident enough to enter any long-term positions or medium-term positions. I'm sticking to short-term scalp trading, get in and out quickly, because this market, in my opinion, is very unstable. It's hanging on by a thread of irrationality from the S&P 500. If Bitcoin manages, I repeat, if Bitcoin manages to hold 44.5k to 46k, close daily candles within that region, and bounce, that would be an indication that we're probably going to be breaking the upside and heading into the lower 50k region, okay? Whether that will happen or not, I'd say it's unlikely, but again, it's not based on my opinion. It's based on the irrational price action going on in traditional markets. Now, what I will say is that I'm still macro bearish on Bitcoin. Okay, and by macro, I mean for the rest of 2022. I'm still bearish on Bitcoin, right? Regardless of the short-term price action, regardless of all of that, I am still bearish on Bitcoin. I'm still sticking by my prediction. I'm still sticking by the 200-week SMA by November to December. I still think that's going to happen at around 24K November to December, okay? At this point, I don't have any reason to believe that won't happen. The only reason that I'm being given right now is driven by short-term irrational price action, as I've said before. What we can see also is volume rate rising in this downwards trend. We saw a bearish engulfing candle after 2 shooting star formations and rejections of a 200-day SMA, right? So the daily chart is not in a good place. It's also an ascending wedge format. It's also an ascending channel formation, which is typically a bearish formation that breaks to the downside around 74% of the time. And if you want it to be a little bit more bearish, you could say this is actually a flagpole, making this a bearish flag formation, which breaks to the downside around 79% of the time, right? So there's no denying that the daily chart is actually very bearish on Bitcoin here, but what we can say is that this support zone is very relevant. If we hold the support swing to the upside, we can definitely go to 50K, 52K, 53K, okay? 100% can happen. But macro, I don't care about this illogical price action because macro, I understand the fact that Bitcoin is in a 4-year cycle and Bitcoin has entered its bear market period. I also understand the fact that Bitcoin is basically copying exactly what it did in 2018, right? To the T. Let me bring up a fractal right now before I bring this up. Where my cursor is right now is the fractal I'm bringing from 2018. I'm going to adjust that to the current price action to show you. Adjusting that fractal to the current price action, we can see we are following the 2018 bear market to a basically unimaginably, undeniably accurate extent, right? This is the 2018 bear market repeating right now on Bitcoin. We've seen a slight deviation on the end, but generally it's exactly the same, right? Downwards trend, double top formation at the top, inverted head and shoulders pattern, zoom to the upside like we're doing right now. Very, very, very similar price action. Just excuse all this writing on the screen here, but what I'm looking at now, seeing that we have similar price action, we can expect the same kind of thing to happen in regards to things like the 50 SMA, 50-week SMA, and the 200-week SMA, and the MACD. What we're seeing on the MACD and what we saw on the MACD in 2018, let's start in 2018, is we saw a bullish MACD cross coming in at the same time as we saw the rally we're seeing now relative to the fractal. Bullish MACD cross came in, however, it didn't actually cross, it flattened out for months, and then we saw a massive dump. On Bitcoin right now, what are we doing? Well, we saw a bullish MACD cross come in, however, there is a red candle weekly on the forming right. There is a red candle forming on the weekly right now, a shooting star formation, which is a bearish formation, which suggests that this thing may be flattening out, just like what it did in 2018, before crashing at a later point this year. Okay, there are amazing similarities going on right now. Also, in regards to the 50-week SMA, we've barely broken it. In fact, we've dropped back below it on this red candle. And if we close, let me say, if we close this weekly candle below 45.7K, that will be a drop back below the 50-week SMA, and that would be extremely bearish for Bitcoin. So I suppose to summarize the video, and let me just clean up this chart a little bit before I get back into it. To summarize this video right now, the critical region for Bitcoin in the shorter term is 44.5K to 46K. If we hold that region, it is very likely we will see a bounce up to around 52K to 53K. If we lose this region, it is very likely we will drop to the bottom side of this channel, break to the downside, and go to 30K and follow our prediction as expected towards the 200-week SMA, right? Even if we break to the upside here and go to 52 to 53K, if that seems to be triggered by a rational price action in the S&P 500, I would not consider that macro bullish. That would be a short-term bullish scenario, okay? So we've got a few things to look at there. And again, there's no harm in being bearish in this market. This is what I like to think about it. There's no harm in being bearish right now in this market because you still understand, even if you're bearish macro, that there are good opportunities for a swing, right? A swing trade, right? If we hold the support zone, I would 100% be jumping into coins for a trade up to 52 to 53K, right? So I'm still making money. But my longer term view is that we're going into recession and we've seen the 4-year cycle trigger a bear market. So why should we be bullish, right? That's the way I'm thinking about it right now. So short term, very hard to say. Longer term, in terms of the rest of this year, I'm definitely bearish on Bitcoin. There's no doubt about that. That's how I see Bitcoin right now. And I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers.